the platelets, as we all know, are cellular fragments derived from the cytoplasm of megakaryocytes. They have mitochondria, alpha and beta granules, and lysosomes. And the interaction among the platelet membrane receptors and the adhesive macromolecules and the disseparate vessel wall cause the primary hemostasis. The platelets, as we all know, can be activated by different pathways, which is dependent on collagen, thrombin, ADP, serotonin, thromboxane A2, etc. This is a video showing the same. As we all know, the interaction of platelets with the ruptured vessel wall and the subsequent activation of aggregation of platelets is dependent upon an intact endothelium. The intact endothelium prevents the activation of platelets, and the rupture of endothelium exposes the subendothelial collagen, which interacts with the platelets either directly or through the von Willebrand factor, which activates through the GP1A, 2A, or GP6 and GP59 interactions, as we can see here. And these interactions will by themselves release the alpha granules which contain fibrinogen, von Willebrand factor, and factor 5, or otherwise the DELS granules which contain ADP. And these by themselves will recruit the other platelets, or which will lead to the activation of other coagulation factors. And the platelet activation triggers a conformational change in the GP2B3A, which from the inactive to the active state, and through fibrinogen and von Willebrand factor will cause to function as bridges between the GP2B3A with other platelets. So the platelets, which were initially stored at 4 degrees Celsius along with the PRBC, but with a series of studies in the late 1960s and the early 70s by Scott Murphy, Gardner et al., the platelet aggregation, which was shown to be induced in the low temperatures, was similar to the ADP-induced aggregations and resulted in shortening of lifespan of transfused platelets, and therefore they suggested room temperature to be the standard storage temperature. The room temperature storage of platelets decreases the platelet metabolic activity by almost 60% compared to the in vivo activity at 37 degrees Celsius. However, it carries with it the risk of bacterial contamination. The platelets, which are kept for up to 3 days in the first generation platelet containers, have been increased to around first to 5 days and then to 7 days. And in 1986, the FDA mandated the return to 5-day shelf life because of increasing reports of bacterial sepsis, which was associated with the room temperature storage. The platelets which are stored experience a progressive decline in function accompanied with the characteristic morphological changes, which are termed as platelet storage lesions. The studies document up to 20% loss in platelet recovery through 5 days of storage. The critical variables affecting the stored platelet health are temperature, metabolic availability, and the respiratory capacity, which are dependent on the platelet content, gas diffusion through the containers, agitation of the platelets, and this activation could be occurring either during the centrifugation process, that is during the platelet preparation itself, or even during storage. And some of it is reversible, but if at all it is reversible, this results in increasing of this results in increased platelet aggregation, platelet activation, or even apoptosis. So this results in a decrease in the platelet quality of the platelet concentrates. So the cold storage of platelets, it has been shown that it results in a phase transitions leading to the platelet shape change and activation priming and the clustering of GP1B alpha. These changes help in improved hemostasis in acutely bleeding patients. The other benefits with the cold storage of platelets include the decreased risk of bacterial contamination and lower transfusion-related complications, especially sepsis, and decreased cost due to the decreased equipment requirement and extended shelf life. The cold storage of platelets results in the clustering of GP1B59 and GP1B alpha. These attach to the lectin binding domains of the hepatic macrophages alpha and beta 2 and the hepatocyte glycoprotein receptors, which recognize these receptors and results in rapid removal of these platelets. There are several assays. So the recent studies in the cold stored platelets have also shown that the cold stored platelets have better hemostatic efficacy, and the clots which are formed are denser and straighter and are much likely to sustain for a longer period of time. The temperature cycling, as we know, temperature cycling is the states that the RDPs which are stored at different temperatures for different periods of time. Temperature cycling is based on the premise that the membrane transitions which begin at a temperature below 30 degrees Celsius are reversible with changes in both time and temperature dependent, and the interruption in the continuous cold storage with short repeated pulses of 37 degrees results in an extended microtubule assembly capabilities for 72 degrees and maintains the platelet shape change compatibilities. The aim of this study was to study the effects of temperature cycling during the random storage of random donor platelets and assess if it can increase the shelf life and improve platelet function compared to room temperature or cold stored platelets. The objective of this study was to describe the changes in platelet morphology, metabolic changes, and aggregation of platelets which are stored at room temperature, cold and temperature cycling, and compare the aggregation of platelets in response to ADP and collagen. This was a prospective study which was conducted in our blood bank with the study period between May 2019 to December 2019. A total of 19 RTPs were selected from the whole blood donations, and RTPs were prepared and were tested on day 0, day 3, and day 5 and day 7. And after being separated into 3 different parts, which were kept at the 3 different temperatures. The various tests which were done, which included platelet count and morphology, swirling, pH, culture for bacteria, gas analysis, platelet aggregation, and by glucose and lactate. So these are the various tools which were used to assess the platelet in vitro quality of platelets by Levin et al., which and out of which we have highlighted the tests which we have used are highlighted in red color. So there are various assays in order to examine the platelets functional state, but all of them are mostly they have various limitations which include the high cost and the complexity in performing and interpreting the tests. The platelet aggregation activity has been for long considered to be the gold standard, and this method measures the platelet aggregation as an increase in light transmittance in a PRP sample following the addition of platelet agonists. The percentage aggregation is calculated by defining the transmission of light through PRP as being 0% aggregation and percentage transmission of light through PPP as being 100%. That is maximum aggregation. The statistical analysis was done using Microsoft Excel and IBM SPSS 24 for analysis, and comparisons between the components at the different temperatures and with the baseline was done using the one-way ANOVA. One-for-only multiple comparison test was performed to determine the differences between the groups, and a p-value of less than 0.05 was considered to be significant. The baseline values as you are shown here, which suggests that the platelet count was around 18 to 10 per line, and PDAW, MPV, LCR, swirling, pH, PO2, all of these, the baseline parameters are mentioned here. The platelet count in all the 3 groups increased from day 0 to day 3 and then decreased gradually. The lower platelet count on day 0 may be due to the platelet clumps which are formed during the preparation of the platelet components. The mean platelet count in cold stored platelets showed a relatively stable count from day 5 to day 7, as you can see here, whereas the room temperature stored as temperature cycle platelets have shown a fall in the platelet counts after day 5. After day 3. The platelet morphology, the platelet indices during the same period, MPV showed an increase in size of room temperature stored platelets, whereas it was relatively stable in the cold and temperature cycling groups. The mean MPV for room temperature platelets increased from 8.19 to 9.25 FL on day 5 and 9.92 on day 7, which is an increase in 13% by day 5 and 21% by day 7. This might be due to the disk to sphere change which occurs in platelets stored at room temperature. The mean swirling score was, however, better maintained in the room temperature stored platelets compared to the other 2 groups throughout the storage period. The metabolic parameters of platelets compared with pH, PO2, and PCO2 has shown that the pH values in all the 3 groups were maintained more than 6.5. The mean pH of cold stored platelets remained relatively constant at pH of 7.2 throughout the cold storage period. The pH of temperature cycling platelets was also relatively constant. The mean pH of room temperature platelets, however, reached 6.87 on day 7. The PO2 levels remained high during the storage period in all the 3 groups, remaining greater than 100 mmM of Hg without any statistically significant difference between them. The levels of PCO2 decreased gradually in all the 3 groups. The metabolic parameters of platelets when compared to glucose and lactate has shown that the mean glucose levels of cold stored platelets were significantly higher than the room temperature and temperature cycle groups on day 5 and day 7. This is mostly because of the decrease in metabolic requirements of cold stored platelets and the higher rate of metabolism in the room temperature stored platelets. The levels of lactate increased during the storage period in all the three groups, with higher levels detected in room temperature platelets due to the higher metabolic rate. The mean level of lactate on day 5 was 7.94 milligrams per deciliter in cold platelets, 12.19 in TC, and 15.23 in room temperature platelets. The difference in lactate levels was statistically significant among all the three groups. When seen for the percentage of platelet aggregation, the cold stored platelets are more responsive and aggregate significantly better to ADP compared to the room temperature and temperature cycle platelets. Aggregation response for all the storage products at different temperatures were decreased compared to the baseline values. After storage, platelets showed better response when stimulated with ADP rather than with collagen, and ADP is a weak agonist for platelets and was tested in two concentrations in our study with 5 micromolar and 10 micromolar concentrations. On day 5, the mean aggregation with 5 micromolar ADP was decreased to 27% in cold stored platelets and 17% with temperature cycle and 14% with room temperature platelets. The percentage platelet aggregation when assessed with collagen has shown that it was tested with two concentrations in the study, 2 micrograms and 4 micrograms. On day 5, the mean aggregation was with 2 microgram per ml collagen was 14% in cold stored platelets, whereas it was 11% with temperature cycled and only 10% with room temperature stored platelets. The decrease in aggregation in response to collagen was significant in all the three groups with storage, and the difference was between the three groups, however, was not significant. So the findings of this present study, when compared with other studies, for example, Rodap et al., has shown that the platelet glucose metabolism and aggregation responses with this study was comparable with that of Kristen Reddick. But however, the drop in platelet count was observed by day 5 with macroscopic platelet counting in case of Kristen Reddick. In our study, there was an increase in the platelet count on day 3, and then it decreased on day 5, as we have already mentioned, which might have been due to the platelet clumping which might have occurred during the preparation of the platelet concentrates. The platelet concentration decrease in cold and room temperature platelets was seen by Lacey Johnson. But what has been observed by Lacey Johnson was that an MPV was high in the cold stored platelets. However, in our study, we have seen that the MPV was higher in room temperature stored platelets rather than in the cold stored platelets. The study by Aman Nasreddin and all has shown that the platelet count was in the cold was lower than that of the room temperature, and there was no change in the MPV or all the groups, which was different from our observation. And the cold stored platelets showed a decrease in metabolic rate and aggregation, which was better aggregated better in response to agonists, which was similar to our study. The mean platelet volume was not different in all the groups in the study by Vostal et al. And aggregation with ADP was not different between cold RT and TC platelets by Vostal et al. However, we have seen that the platelets aggregated better with cold in our studies rather than with RT and TC platelets. So the comparison was made within the day 5 room temperature and day 7 temperature cycle platelets, and we had seen that more or less the biochemical parameters had been matching between both these groups, and this we could have which could be interpreted as an in vitro equivalency between the day 7 temperature cycle and day 5 room temperature platelets. The strengths of the study was that it was the first attempt to understanding the effect of temperature cycling in RDPs, according to a study with available literature which was in PubMed. And this study utilized the same RDP which was divided into 3 different parts, therefore eliminating the risk for pre-analytical variations between the various samples. And aggregation tests were performed in the study using low-dose agonists similar to the concentrations used in the diagnosis of platelet function disorders. This allows for understanding the subtle differences in quality at 3 temperatures. The limitations of this study was a limited sample size of only 19 RDPs, use of only random donor platelets, and the FRSS platelets might be behaving differently rather than the random donor platelets, and the use of small volume of platelets in a platelet bag, which generally stores around 50 to 70 ml, may have resulted in more than normal breathable surface area, which may have impacted our assessments. And there is no standardized protocol for temperature cycling. Therefore, we made our own protocol, and the findings of our study are attributed to only our own protocol rather than temperature cycling in general. The platelet microparticles and coagulant platelet surfaces are growing in importance, and the thrombotic function of platelets is not yet fully understood. So we still don't know if at all the in vitro parameters which we have observed are going to translate into in vivo studies. The clinical efficacy of platelets, by efficacy of platelets, which needs to be assessed in order to
You have
increase
1 minute more to wind up.
In order to increase the platelet storage duration could be based on the safety and efficacy. And these are the various methods which were discussed by Aubran et al. And out of which we were only able to see only a few of them. So we just, if at all, we could just increase the platelet duration, storage duration by more than a week, or at least 7 days, we'd be able to cater to a large number of platelet demand. Thank you.